First off, I'd love to congratulate you for having a self-managed super fund. Now, if you're watching this video, you haven't got one, then I would suggest you might want to have a chat with an advisor, do your research and get into them as fast as possible. They're certainly the fastest growing sector of superannuation, and really it's the repository for most people in the smarter edge, or people really looking at engaging and taking control of their super. But there's one thing that many of us in self-managed super funds, and we've done a lot of surveys at ASMA around this, is that many don't have a fully completed SMSF estate plan. You probably don't understand it, as many of the people we researched have found out, is that your estate plan that you create inside your self-managed super fund is quite independent of your will. So even though your will may say, I want all my superannuation to go to my spouse or my daughters from my first marriage or whatever, there is no compunction on the trustee of the super fund on your death to actually pay that money out unless you put in a structural, secure SMSF will or binding death benefit nomination to carry that money over. Otherwise, they have full discretion. So really, let's just go through and have a look at how you may create your own SMSF estate plan. And I would say that it's really crucial in this instance because there's been a number of court cases around this which have cost, tens of $20,000 or $30,000 to run, and it's been an absolute disaster for families and broken families apart. That with a little bit of good advice, some common sense and understanding what you're trying to get through, that you can really cut through all of that and leave something secure for your family. First one is generally it's making a decision not to make a decision at all. So for everyone who's not watching this video, they're probably not making decisions, so then it really becomes up to the remaining trustee of the fund. So have a look at the remaining trustees of the super fund that you're in. Do you want to give them complete discretion as to what will happen with your benefits in the event that you die? Now, more importantly than that is you might say, well, it's my spouse, she's the only one in there. But you have to also understand what would happen if your spouse had no legal capacity or was declared mentally unfit or physically unfit at that point in time, and mentally unfit not to be able to make that decision for you. Then really the public trustee or someone will step in and make the decision, which is well and truly beyond the bounds of your family. The second one, which is quite popular, is a binding death benefit nomination, which is just simply a nomination that sits alongside the trust deed of the fund, and more importantly, when it sits alongside the trust deed of the fund, it binds the trustee, not only current trustees but future trustees, as to the distribution of your death benefits. Now, in relation to that, it's not a bad system, but it has its flaws in that you can only do percentages. So it might be 100% to my spouse and then 33% to each of my children. So if there's underlying assets in the fund, or you're looking at a specific dollar amount or cutting some kids out, it really doesn't have that strength. To get that really secure and strong element to it, we use what we call an SMSF will, which has been around for about 5 or 6 years now, and certainly the smarter advisors and practitioners are using it, which is a fairly simple document. It might simply be that this asset is to go to this child in the event of my spouse's death, or my spouse is to get a pension, and we have a pension because we make sure that that carries on the tax-free status of the fund. X amount of dollars is to go to this child is not to be looked after at all, and we can end up with quite a serious set of circumstances. For the most part, binding death benefit nominations are good if there's just a fairly simple family situation, but if we want to go down the SMSF will, if there's blended families, if you're farmers, if you've got substantial assets inside the fund, I would always say the SMSF will is the place to go. Now, your advisor will be able to help you craft one of these, take all the stuff that you want to have inside there, and then of course get a lawyer to draft that up for you. Anyway, that's the real base. The three differences: not making a decision, binding death benefit nomination, SMSF will, the three things that you really need to think about in terms of structuring your SMSF. Make sure you make the most of this opportunity you've got with self-managed super funds. It's Grant Abbott signing off.